I'm Jeremy Olivier with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. The cabinet has just approved President Lai Ching-te's new security plan that includes a record-high special defense budget. But as Alan Liu reports, reactions to the proposal have been mixed.
A $40 billion special defense budget, the largest Taiwan has ever proposed. President Lai Ching-te on Wednesday unveiled a new multi-year defense plan, running from 2026 to 2033. He says the budget will fund stronger air defense systems, investments in asymmetric warfare, and the creation of a China-free defense supply chain. The U.S. has welcomed the move. The de facto American embassy in Taiwan, several senators, and the House Foreign Affairs Committee all praised it, and Taiwan's foreign ministry expressed its thanks.
台美将持续在台湾关系法与6项保证的稳固基础下紧密合作，共同捍卫台海与印太区域的和平、稳定与繁荣。
But not everyone supports the plan. The main opposition Kuomintang, or KMT, says the proposal means taking on huge debt, and that it could risk provoking China.
我们如何能够永续的，如何能够维持世代正义，来支持如此庞大的国防特别支出？这一点，赖总统没有给我们任何的说明。赖总统，您在玩火啊！
The proposal came a day after Lai published an op-ed in the Washington Post outlining his defense vision. Both the KMT and the opposition Taiwan People's Party criticized the move, saying he went straight to the international media before communicating the plan to the public at home.
不管是国人还是立法委员，大家都没有办法得知具体的内容。没有想到赖清德总统竟然是透过投出美国媒体的方式来宣布，我们的国防经费要再进一步增加400亿美金。
But some analysts say sharing the budget with international media is a way for Taiwan to show allies abroad it's willing to defend itself.
川普差不多当选快一年了，那这一年多了，这一年的中间，他其实对台湾有很多的一些想法，或者是说他对国防预算有很多的一些希望要提高。那我们在这个时候，代表我们这个时候提出这一份投书，其实代表我们对于 美国的一些建议，我们是有去采纳。
And while the cabinet approved the budget on Thursday, China is continuing its gray zone pressure. Beijing's Taiwan Affairs Office, which handles cross-strait matters, responded to the budget plan, warning it could push Taiwan into a disastrous situation. Meanwhile, Taiwan's defense ministry reported spotting 17 Chinese military aircraft and 6 vessels operating near the country between Wednesday and Thursday morning. Despite some opposition to the budget, analysts say that strengthening Taiwan's defenses has become a rare point of consensus amid ongoing pressure from China. Fu Hahong and Alan Liu for TaiwanPlus.
The Wall Street Journal is reporting that U.S. President Donald Trump advised Japan's Prime Minister Takaichi to tone down her support for Taiwan, after recently saying Japan could intervene if China invades Taiwan. To understand what a possible change of tack on Taiwan would mean, John Van Trieste spoke to Professor Taishi Xun, a Japan expert at Tamkang University.
So Japan's Prime Minister Takaichi has softened her rhetoric on Taiwan somewhat, saying she didn't mean to get specific, but she hasn't retracted her original statement. What significance do you see in that?
他现在只是包装，不希望说把这个事情应该说闹得越来越大，也希望说中方有一个台阶可以降下来，把希望双方的一个温度降价。那只是说他没有去收回的原因是，他们本来的态度、本来的见解就是这么样的一个见解。因为这句话不是新的，而且他们也是强调72年的共识，他们没有承认台湾是中华人民共和国的。 这也是告诉中方，我们的态度本来就是这样，只是高是把它讲明白而已。
So she might be softening her rhetoric around Taiwan, but she's not retracting her statement. Is that going to be enough to mollify Beijing, or do you see tensions between China and Japan continuing to be high?
应该说不是升高或是降温的问题，而是日方已经正式这是面临，或是说他们正视这一个问题点，没有在躲避的，因为 日方的话确实是本来就感受到中方的那一种威胁感，所以只是趁这个机会让国民能够醒悟起来，而不是像过去一样，日方有一点是睁一只眼闭一只眼，就是中方的军力的扩大，他们好像就没有看到，他们也认为说，反正只要是有美军基地在日本的话，他们应该是没有问题的。可是现在的话，就是自己去面对。
What can Taiwan do to maximize its self-interest and make the best of the situation in this triangle of global powers and the frictions between them?
我们要展现出防卫自己的一个能力，这样才能够抑制战事的发生。因为台湾跟日方的力量，如果说拉升起来的话，那个战事的风险应该是会往下降。虽然不能够共同军演，但是你们做什么，我们做什么，平常可以沟通站好自己的位置，防卫这一个阵营。
That was Tamkang University's Cai Xixun. U.S. President Donald Trump has a new demand for Taiwan if it wants to lower tariffs, training U.S. workers. That's according to 5 sources familiar with the matter, cited in an exclusive report from Reuters. It comes as Taiwan continues negotiating with Washington on a trade deal that would lower Taiwan's current 20% tariff. Now, for more on this, reporter Chris Gorin joins us live from our Taipei newsroom. So, Chris, what exactly is being reported about the negotiations?
Well, it's important to point out that at the moment, all we have to go on is the reporting itself. Neither the White House nor Taiwan's Office of Trade Negotiations has responded to our requests for comment. But the report, if true, does lay out some new U.S. demands for Taiwan if it's going to lower Taiwan's current 20% tariff. And those demands include for Taiwan to send more workers from its chip industry to the U.S. to expand operations there and to train American workers. The U.S. is also asking for support and know-how to help it build industrial clusters similar to Taiwan's science parks. The U.S. is also asking for more capital investment in the country, and that has been a common ask among these tariff deals until now. But the total amount of investment that it's reportedly asking for is less than regional rivals South Korea and Japan, which have both committed to hundreds of billions of U.S. dollars each. Now, one thing that's unclear is what exactly the training the U.S. is seeking for these American workers. Presumably, companies like TSMC are already providing training to their American employees at their Arizona facilities. So will this training go beyond that? That's something that we still don't know. It's also notable that the U.S. is asking for less total investment from Taiwan than countries like Japan and South Korea, especially because Taiwanese companies have already made massive investment commitments in the United States. TSMC, for example, has committed to $165 billion US of investment in the U.S., which is actually the largest single foreign investment in U.S. history.
So then, Chris, is there a timeline for when this agreement might get finalized?
You know, there's not, Jeremy. These negotiations are fluid, and there's a lot of factors in play. And one of those factors is China. We know that U.S. President Donald Trump is seeking a big trade deal with China, and he's scheduled to visit Beijing this spring. So will Taiwan enter into those negotiations? You know, it was reported just earlier this week that Chinese President Xi Jinping had a phone call with Donald Trump in which he said that the return of Taiwan to China is an important part of the so-called post-war international order. So that's a big question mark there. Furthermore, for Taiwan's part, obviously one of the main goals of this deal is to lower Taiwan's U.S. tariff rate. But the authority that Donald Trump is using to levy tariffs in the first place is actually before the Supreme Court right now and could be overturned. And we're expecting a decision no later than June on that authority. So while this reporting does reveal a little bit more shape about what a U.S.-Taiwan trade deal might look like, it creates as many questions as it answers. Jeremy?
Thanks for that update, Chris. That was Chris Gorin reporting from our Taipei newsroom. U.S. chipmaker Intel is rejecting accusations by Taiwan's TSMC that one of its executives, Luo Weiren, leaked trade secrets after rejoining Intel in October. In a statement, Intel said it strictly prohibits the use or transfer of intellectual property. The company says it has no reason to believe there is any merit to the allegations against Luo. The dispute pits two of the world's biggest chip makers against each other in a high-profile fight over trade secrets. Luo spent about 18 years at Intel before joining TSMC in 2004. TSMC says that after Luo moved away from R&D last year, he was still involved in briefings from research staff. That created what the company now calls a high risk of leaking trade secrets to Intel. The allegations are detailed in a lawsuit TSMC filed this week in Taiwan. The Economy Ministry and prosecutors are also investigating possible national security breaches. 3 people have been arrested after a deadly fire broke out in a high-rise apartment complex in Hong Kong on Wednesday. Over 40 people are dead, including 1 firefighter. Tiffany Wong has the latest.
As morning breaks in Hong Kong, firefighters continue to fight the remaining blaze at this high-rise apartment complex in the city's Tai Po district. The fire, which broke out on Wednesday afternoon, has killed dozens of people, including 1 firefighter. Hundreds are still missing. The 8-tower complex was home to over 4,000 people, many of them aged 65 and above. The fire raged all night as residents watched on, anxiously waiting for news of their loved ones.
One neighbor said he still could not find his wife. I know someone who has young children and elderly in their family. I called him and he said he was still trapped inside the building.
The cause of the fire is unknown, but police say the blaze's quick spread could be because of flammable materials used in maintenance work. 2 directors of the construction company and a consultant have been arrested on suspicion of manslaughter.
We have reason to believe that the company's responsible parties were grossly negligent, which led to this accident and caused the fire to spread uncontrollably, resulting in major casualties.
The 32-story towers were covered in bamboo scaffolding for government-mandated maintenance. Flammable foam construction materials were also found on the outside of every floor. One former district councillor who lived in the apartment complex for 30 years said having all the towers under construction at once was irregular.
So in our experience, we will do one by one and to save more money, because when you do it all together, then you need many workers at the same time. And also it will affect all the people of all the buildings. So actually we will do it one by one and try to do it part by part.
With hundreds of residents still missing, Hong Kong leader John Lee said that over 800 emergency personnel had been dispatched to the scene. In a post on social media, Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te sent his condolences to Hong Kong and a wish for the missing residents to be found safe. On Wednesday night, Chinese leader Xi Jinping urged an all-out rescue effort, setting aside $282,000 for Red Cross assistance. And major Chinese businesses like Xiaomi and Tencent have donated over $6 million for relief efforts. Some 900 people have been evacuated to temporary shelters, and many more may be left homeless due to the densely populated city's housing shortage. With hospitals treating dozens in critical or serious condition, the death toll is expected to rise, with many still wondering who is to blame for the city's deadliest fire in decades. Joseph Wu and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
A Taiwanese man has been located after his reported abduction several days ago by armed men at the Abu Dhabi airport. The passenger, Mr. Chen, was transiting at the airport with his wife, Ms. Yang. The couple were en route to Turkey for a tour when Ms. Yang said 5 armed police officers arrested him and took him away. Ms. Yang reached out to Taiwan's foreign ministry for help, who worked with the police in Abu Dhabi. Taiwanese media report Ms. Yang says her husband is currently being held at a Dubai police station. Details of his detainment are still unknown. 9 indigenous people have been acquitted of charges of hunting protected wildlife, the first ruling since indigenous hunting was decriminalized in February. The group was arrested in southern Taiwan in 2022 and charged under the Wildlife Conservation Act. Investigators said they had killed 4 Formosan black bears and 3 wild goats over a 3-year period. The judge dismissed the case, saying the animals were not hunted for profit and that one of the bears was shot because it posed a threat to human life. Balancing indigenous hunting traditions with national law has long been a challenge in Taiwan. Despite the acquittals, the county government still has the option to issue fines. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Finally, check out these Moravian stars on display in a shop in Germany as Christmas approaches. I'm Jeremy Olivier. Take care and see you next time.